It's the March show with Lill from CMHA. And Lill, I got to thank you for the piece we did last month on psychosis. And I really want to take that deeper. Could you help? Could you push me in the right direction? I think I want to. Can I talk to somebody at CMHA down the road so we can sort of get a deeper understanding of what sort of the recovery is? Could you do that?
Yeah, sure. CMHA has a partnership with the Brantford General Hospital with their EPI program, which is the Early Intervention Psychosis Program. And it's very important, when there is the first initial onset, to get that treatment right away. It will make or break the first episode being the last episode. And it is a multidisciplinary team dealing with all components that are required to get the treatment that the person needs to get through this.
Thank you. That's gonna be cool. Like, I mean, and you always get me started in the right direction, but then I tend to go down rabbit holes, as you've seen. So this will be fun for me. This will
Yeah.
be another educational component I'm looking forward
Yes.
to. Can we take a few minutes today, though? I want to talk about seasonal disorder because I know
Hmm.
we're just about out of winter. We can
Yep.
see it,
Yep.
but there's still folks that struggle with it a little bit. Can you talk a bit to that?
Yep. We're on the last stretch. That's positive, but winter is still here, right? And we have been known to get all excited when we have this mild weather, but you know that it's just too early. I was telling you earlier that we heard a robin, and I was saying to myself, "Poor silly soul." But we are on the stretch. We're pretty much halfway through winter. This time of year, I think everyone is feeling cabin fever, right? It's been cold long enough now. The days are slowly getting longer, but it's still getting dark at 5:30. That's not acceptable to me. So our mood is still not. We're in anticipation, but we're still feeling a little bit down, right? I don't know about you, but I want to go outside without a coat. So yeah, I do. Well, I can. I suppose I can, but
You
it would be a
can, but
little cold. So it's really important that, the sun is getting warmer, I have to say. So bundle up and go for that walk. Yesterday I went for a walk. The Weather Network told me it was 4 degrees, but it wasn't sunny and I was very cold. But I did it anyway because I got some fresh air and daylight. So get yourself out there, go for that walk, or even just go outside for a little while, right? We're in the long stretch. And it's really important to just keep that motivation. And I know we still want to hibernate, but it's very important to just keep busy, keep a schedule and a routine, because if you don't have any plans for that day or a schedule or routine, you're going to stay home and hibernate, which just makes things worse, right? Yeah, stay connected.
if you see, I'm lucky enough that I work from home. So
Yeah,
when I see a little bit of sunlight, I'm going
yeah.
outside.
Oh, of course.
There's something about that. Obviously, it feeds your system, but we're just
Yeah.
standing in the sun, even if for a minute, right? It just changes the whole balance in your life a little bit. It just ups the game and makes you feel more alive, more alert. But
Absolutely. Absolutely. We need that sunlight. We
yeah,
absolutely do. We need that to stimulate our brain chemicals, our feel good chemicals. And that's why we really recommend, if you are living with seasonal affective disorder, which is a winter depression, invest in one of those sad lamps, right? And
oh yeah,
yeah, and if you can, which what it does is it mimics the sunlight, right?
right.
Which is what we're sorely lacking during the winter months. If you speak to your physician about that, and you really have a case of seasonal affective disorder, which is a bona fide winter depression, he can even write you a prescription for it, right? And that's, a lot of people don't know that because they're not cheap, these lamps, right? But they
Is
work.
is it on the rise? Like, is there more cases coming forward? Like, are people understanding it better?
Oh, yes. I think people are really understanding that there's a difference between the winter blues, like, is spring ever going to come, right? Which is
Right.
normal, and just get going into a bona fide winter depression, which is like a depression, except it's during the winter months and lets up in the spring. I still have all the symptoms, and it's a depression.
There's something like that. Like when you bring that up, now I'm like, oh, like I'm thinking of different people in my family. Um, it seems that that time of year, every year,
Yeah.
there's a bit of a struggle. So you
Yep.
probably need to address it, right? Obviously, you don't want to have this reoccurring problem. So,
No.
yeah, I never even thought about it. But yeah, you're right. You're always like, oh, it's that time of year. They're always a bit down. But
Well, our gauge is, and it's not scientific, but if it continues 2 years in a row, right, and you start to feel the symptoms coming on when the time changes in October and it gets dark at 4 o'clock, and it seems to lift in the spring when the time changes again, we spring forward, and this is a pattern that occurs for 2 years or more, then you might want to look at, perhaps you do have seasonal affective disorder, which is very recognized. There was a time when people didn't take it seriously, but people are taking it seriously now because, as I said, it is a diagnosis of a winter depression.
and it doesn't, I think a lot of people used to deal with it. They'd take a vacation. Well, if you don't
Mhm.
have those opportunities, or
Exactly.
you got to look at other ways that you can sort of help complement
Exactly.
yourself. I,
Sure, sure. Get out of the bad weather, right,
right?
and
Yeah.
and feel better for 2 weeks, or and then come back right into it. But there's other ways certainly that you can do it. And when I'm talking to people all the time and they're feeling this way, I tell them stay connected, right? Do not isolate yourself. Do not hibernate, and get out and get some fresh air. There's a lot of community centers that have indoor tracks. If you don't want to go out in the cold or anything, you can run or walk and I can't stress enough how to keep that exercise going, because it's that exercise that really boosts our feel good, our endorphins, that really boost our mood and energy. It's very important.
I have a friend and she's like 91. She still lives in her home. It's in the country.
Yeah,
And she's really great at reaching out and just chatting, right? And
yeah,
I thought that's what she does through the winter because she can't get out
yeah,
and see her friends too much. She
yeah.
she doesn't really want to drive in the winter, right?
No,
But
no.
I thought she's figured it out because she knows
Yep,
she needs to keep it. She's planning ahead.
good.
Okay, in April we're going to do this, or are you coming
I
down
love
for
it.
coffee? But I think that's the part that we kind of forget about is there's people there for us. It's
That's a
just
perfect
picking up the phone or sending an
example.
email, right?
That's a perfect example, Dave. Like we all have telephones, right? And some people know how to FaceTime or they know how to
Mhm.
Zoom. We all learned, people who didn't know how to do that certainly learned when we were locked down during COVID. And what was happening during COVID was there were a lot of increased mental health and addictions problems because mainly we were losing that connection. So that shows you how important keeping that connection is to our well being.
Yeah, we didn't really think about it, did we? But we frayed all those connections so badly, and now
Yep.
we're trying to reestablish them. So obviously, you're going to see an upswing in a lot of the mental aspects of someone's life.
Mm-hmm.
So I always try and look at winter as sort of like, okay, in February I would like to be able to do this, even if it's going skating somewhere, right? Or doing, and it's just that little bit of goal to get there that sort of
Exactly.
drives you a bit. That says, okay, I'm on the right track. I'll get there. Yeah, I think
Set
a lot of
the
people need that. I agree 100%.
Yeah,
So seasonal disorder, it's a
mhm,
thing, folks. Be
it is.
aware and get ready for spring. And thank you for looking up the information. I do want to following up on the psychosis talk because I'm
Mhm.
looking forward to that. We'll get in touch with somebody and have them on the show. And hey, get outside, okay? Enjoy
I'm
the nice
going
weather.
to. Thanks,
Talk to you
Dave.
next month.
Bye-bye.